All right, we're gonna postpone the reading of the minutes till next month, or next meeting. So we'll move right to today's events. And up first is, Eager.
Yep.
35 Nelson Lane. Okay. There you go. Have at it.
How's it going? My name's Aaron. I'm with White Engineering and we are representing Robert Heeger, the owner of 35 Nielsen Lane. It was last month, we came here with this proposal for, it was about of 4,900 square foot home. And there was gonna be about, I think there was 84 trees that we were proposing to remove, with further discussions with the owner and with the new house design. And with more discussions with Zod Drum of Sweet Firm Ecological Design. We reduced the house footprint to about 4,300 square feet, and we reduced the number of trees taken down to 53. With a new planting plan, we are proposing 7 total planting areas. They're all in this teal color and in the green color. The teal color, those are areas that Zod deemed had invasive species and that we are planning to remove with just yearly constant cutting, no herbicides, just cutting flush to ground and just having them, like I said, like a yearly maintenance on it and just keep going with it. So in those areas, we have there's gonna be 12 species of different trees up here and it's all included on the planting list. So we got 1 planting area, the 2nd, the 3rd, 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th. The 7th, there isn't any major tree cutting in. It's all gonna be understory trees and shrubs to be planted in this area, more for screening and just to knock them down. So because we were able to shorten up the house footprint, we were able to save some trees up in this area. All the trees that were previously marked to be taken down on the first plan are marked on the second plan as to remain.
These are the trees that were in front of the house on the slope?
So there was still some of them over here that we're proposing to taking down and replanting with some shad bush. Just have a shorter tree height, just so the property owners can maintain a view from the 2nd story. Some of the other places, like along the south side and this north side, we have species like oaks and maples that will, kind of grow up and really start to cover the area because it is in Scenic Mountain Act. One of the other benefits of this house is the total elevation of the house. By definition in the Stockbridge zoning bylaws, 6 feet off. The proposed height is only 23 feet and 10 inches. So we have some, wiggle room there with the building height. And as it goes further up the slope, this area here where the guest house is gonna be is only like a one story room. And this is kind of like an elevated walkway that reconnects back to the 2nd story house. And then, you can kind of see in the pictures that I gave you of the house that it is kind of 1st and 2nd floor kind of crisscross a little bit. So you can see how, so like the 1st floor kind of extends out here to this patio area where there's this closed staircase. And then the 2nd story floor comes down here and then there's the hallway to the guest house.
So the garage is gone now?
So the garage is gonna be removed and then, an attached garage to the house. The master suite is gonna be above the garage, but the garage is gonna be in the same exact place.
And then what would you say the square footage was previously and where'd you put it now?
It was at 4,900 and it's at about 4,300. So a lot of the short, the reduction came in shortening where this guest house was.
Mhm.
And then we also decided to get rid of, there was gonna be a retaining wall back here that was gonna give kind of more flat yard space. We got rid of that retaining wall. So all the retaining walls are gonna be on kind of this northeast side.
So you're taking 53 trees out now?
Yep.
And out of the 53, how much is in the footprint of where the new house is and how much is landscaping?
In the footprint, the new house,
Versus landscaping?
it's like about 8.
So 8 of the 53 are where the new house is?
Yes.
And then so 45 are for the landscaping?
Yep, and I just, when the foundation, the roots are gonna be that kind of critical zone.
And some are on that slope that we said we didn't want them to cut. Is that correct?
Way out slope, and slope and tree.
So here's the slope. And then, these tree symbols right up here are all the small kind of 2 to 6 inch type trees. Or like removed, that we're gonna replant the shad bush, and then there'll be some more plantings here in the rain garden. That's just kind of optimize the view, and then we have trees to be planted.
In optimizing the view, does it optimize seeing the house? Because this is scenic mountain. The point is to not see the house.
Well, we're hoping that, with the shad bush being 20 feet, that will help cover a lot of the house. It is a flat top roof, so there isn't gonna be much pitch sticking above the tree line.
That doesn't, the point of scenic mountains is people look up and don't see this. If trees are there already blocking under scenic mountains, my understanding is you leave those there. You don't cut them down and put trees that aren't going to grow that big so that they can see out, correct? That's the point of scenic mountains, is look up and not see houses in the landscape. So that, I think we need to.
What did you say the roof height was and where it's going? It's going to 23 and where is it now?
But by the definition in the zoning bylaws, the lowest point 6 feet off of the house,
Mhm.
that measurement was 23 feet 10 inches.
That's where it is now as we look at it, or that's where you're gonna build?
No, that'd be the proposed height.
And where is it now?
That I don't have. I can get you that information though.
There are a lot of windows and solar panels,
That need light.
yeah, which are reflective too, theoretically.
The whole roof is flat. There's no pitch to it.
No,
And they understand that this is New England, right?
yes.
Okay,
Our hope is that the nearest visible ridge line is Lanier Hill, which sits at 1,200, and this proposed project sits at about 1,080, so it won't be visible above the ridge line.
It's hard for us to accept taking down trees that are holding up the hill just for the visual for them. I mean, that's why we're here, is not to allow that.
I understand.
We want to work, but you have to help us too. I mean, you can't come here and say this is a scenic mountain and we want to take this down, but we'll put up some bushes. There's big trees there now. How could we possibly say yes to that?
They're not gonna be 20-foot bushes. You're gonna put in bushes that are gonna grow to 20 feet.
Yes.
You have to help us.
By
You're
not,
not doing anything to.
yeah, by not taking those down. We were really clear when we went out there that it's a slope. So when you take out those big trees, it's going to
The erosion and
erode.
everything else.
Sad isn't gonna hold that in place.
that's a really steep bank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're gonna start cutting trees and planting stuff,
Yeah.
it's not gonna work.
That's hard for us. If it was in the flat part of that's hard.
I understand.
Could you,
There-
could you, point out where the slope is, where the slope starts?
Pretty much right behind both of these two green
So
planting areas.
goes right through the middle of the proposed planting?
Yep.
So
What would,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry, just one more
I'm
question.
sorry, my fault.
So what's the difference in elevation from that planting area to the base of the house?
Base of the house, is about 10 feet.
So it's dropping 10 feet.
Yeah.
So you're gonna lose 10 feet from a potential shed, full grown. 10 feet from the top.
And the rain gardens are above,
Yep, the rain gardens are blue.
That's how there's 90 cutting through there.
so they're at about the same 10-foot
Yep.
depth.
Wait, you
Yeah,
should-
they're a little bit, I think the top of the proposed grade of the rain
20
gardens
feet
are calling out at
right there.
92,
30
so it's about 8 foot difference.
I mean.
And then the steep slope starts.
Yep.
So some of those trees that you put in there are even probably close to 20 feet below the house. Is that correct? The base of the house? If you go to the front or to the, what do you call it? The west?
Oh, yes.
No, just the dark one you pointed to before, right there, yeah.
Up. Yeah,
So
that,
if you took down the hill, you're probably losing another 10 feet, right?
If you
Or
look,
did
Go
you,
down.
I'm just curious where you measured the change in elevation from the base of the house.
up to the highest point.
No, just the base of the house. You got the elevation. You said it was 10 feet difference?
Yes. This proposed patio is at elevation 100. And then this green proposed planting area is at elevation 90.
So that's the ground that comes down to 90, then it drops, correct, quickly?
Yes, then after that, it goes from here to here is about 25 feet.
And then that 90 to 25 of their houses, are there trees coming down?
No,
But you're proposing the shed down below,
I'm sorry.
where it's been a 25-foot drop, right? It's
At-
20-foot trees.
at the very top of it where, where these trees are being removed.
Or not,
Or not.
or not. Yeah, those, I mean, those are big, beautiful trees.
do we have a list of what you're gonna take down there?
We have done a balloon test on something like this.
Which means,
We float a large red balloon and we go down below and look up.
See where we can see it from.
but, I mean, both for the slope and for the erosion and for scenic mountains, there's big trees on top.
This area just has mostly 2 to 6 inch diameter trees. A lot of them.
My recollection of that area, right? They were big. That was great. Right? Those were good sized trees. Those weren't 2-inch.
Thanks for everything I've been working.
I don't have a before picture. We've got an artist rendition, what it's gonna look like, but we, we're at fault for not taking pictures.
I
Well,
don't.
they haven't done it.
It's erosion.
It's a significant,
I mean, my concern was all those trees that been spray painted, are just gonna. disappear.
Yeah, we try to reduce the numbers as best as we could.
so
It's a lot of trees you're taking down, no matter how you look at it.
I'm just noticing here, they're going to ground down, it says some of these stumps. Well, on other projects, we always look to try to preserve the stumps if we can, because those control a great deal of the erosion. and prevent significant erosion.
The stumps, I believe, I think that there was a submittal back in 2022 when the project was first taken over. And I can't remember if it was either Shannon or Brent that first came here. But I have to brush up on this, but I believe that the stumps, we were gonna take in account of them and replace them with plantings. So that number is,
But it takes years
Yeah,
for root
there's a whole root
systems to
system.
develop, to hold
Yes.
that kind of, I mean, these stumps are big stumps. They're not little bitty, tiny little trees there.
I don't know if we need to go look again and see exactly what you're talking about, but
I think so.
I can't.
I think we do.
I think we need to look at this, the new layout of the trees that are gonna be saved.
Yeah.
And the trees that are gonna go
We're not.
or not.
This is Phil.
All right, let's set a site visit so we can look at this closely again. We will take pictures
okay.
and then,
Do you have an agenda?
Do I have what?
An agenda?
Looks like the contours are 2 foot
Yes.
I need,
through here, including the proposed fill.
don't know, I don't know
I'll just have to know.
where the stuff. Weird.
oh, time wise. This week,
I'm good.
you good this week?
Yep.
Friday,
Sounds good. Yeah.
3:00?
I'm good. Bill R.
All right.
Okay.
So the trees that are gonna stay, that were marked before, well, you're gonna be there?
I will.
All right.
Yeah.
Don't have to mark anything else, just identify it for us when we get there.
3:00.
3:00. Anything else we should know on this change of plans?
We'll go 3:15.
Yeah.
Does that work? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
3:15.
We did move the sewer pump station. Instead of coming around this way, it's gonna come around this side of the garage.
Follow the road.
Yeah, and then snake up the driveway that way.
Is that gonna impact any of the trees along that road driveway?
I don't think so, but we can.
We'll look at it. Okay. And the pump station is in the ground?
Yep.
Does any modification have to be made to that pump station, or is it fine?
At this moment, I know, Brent is still working with, the town DPW on what exactly type of pump station it's gonna be, because, upon approval from you guys, our next step is to actually start to go to the neighbors, see if anybody is wanting to tie into this, so a lot of the pump station modifications haven't been set in stone yet, just based off of what size volume we might end up getting.
Have to go all the way up to the main road?
Yeah,
The rest of the houses on the street aren't tied in, or
no, yeah, I believe the new,
that's beyond our purview.
the
All right,
nearest manhole is all the way up on Stockbridge Road.
3:15 Friday.
16?
Yep.
16.
16, is that right?
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Work on this. That covers the same Mountain Act too. Wheatley Drive,
Study. That's the question.
Sorry?
3 Wheatley Drive,
And he should.
5
Certificate of compliance request.
Yes.
certificate of compliance.
I haven't officially submitted yet.
Right.
So
I guess while we're here discussing.
We marked though, right, when we walked over there?
Just before I submit, I hope to have submission paperwork in the next week. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, let's wait to see.
It's been 30 years.
Another week or two won't bother.
Right. Okay.
I mean, we
I'll-
could-
I'll submit the paperwork and then we can set up a site visit. Whatever you, the appropriate.
So you will submit for the next meeting, do you think, or maybe not?
Try.
Okay, all right. Oh, whatever.
All right, now we'll go to 11 weekly.
I'm gonna stand up for that. Yes.
I want to read a letter that was submitted with the 2000 issue. It's dated August 28th, 2000, and it's written by Stanley Lessler, attorney at law, whom I think is probably a butter. And it's written to Tim McKenna, who was representative at the time. And it says, "Dear Sir, Martin and Dorrit Cowan's environmental indifference deserves a swift and severe condemnation, not a Department of Environmental Protection approval. Their environmental violations were to be mitigated by planting 59 trees pursuant to the Department of Environmental Protection's August 9th, 1995 amended superseding order of conditions." So apparently there were two. Where are the 59 trees? The July 15th, 1998 as-built submitted by the Cowans, which is the map that I have there, on their engineer's map shows as wetland delineation and buffer zone well construction permit for Martin and Dorrit Cowan, Lot 1, Wheatley Drive, Stockbridge, Massachusetts, dated July 10th, 1994, revised April 13th, 1995. Represents that 71% of the required trees, i.e. 42 trees, were successfully restored. Assuming that this representation is accurate, where are these trees? During the August 24th, 2000 Department of Environmental site inspection, only a few were visible. Additionally, the new growth sprouting from the stumps left after the illegal clear cutting was recently cut. It is an inescapable conclusion that the trees were brush hogged subsequent to the various site inspections. Once again, the Cowans' unobstructed pond view is far more essential to them than any mere environmental concerns. That the Cowans were purportedly unaware of the illegal 1995 tree cutting is no defense. That the Cowans were purportedly unaware that the new growth is being cut on a regular basis is not plausible. That the Cowans purportedly planted the requisite 59 trees is an environmental fiction. The Stockbridge Conservation Commission became aware of these continuous violation, but was powerless to act since apparently jurisdiction was vested in the Department of Environmental Protection to enforce its August 9th, 1995 amended superseding order. The Department of Environmental Protection obviously has many demands on its time and should unequivocally authorize the Stockbridge Conservation Commission to monitor and enforce this order. Additionally, had the Stockbridge Conservation Commission been able to effectively act in response to the Cowans' non-adherence to said order, all commission action on the Cowans' present application would have been held in abeyance until their full and complete compliance with the 1995 Department of Environmental Protection order. And it goes on to.
And that letter's from who again?
This is from Stanley Lessler, who is an attorney at law and who lives, I'm guessing he was in a butter, but I don't know that for sure.
That's from 98,
This letter was dated August 28th, 2000.
2000.
Yes.
So my knowledge of the DEP involvement was from 2000 on. So some of this is news to me, including this plan.
So Joe, went to Tim McKenna. You and I were on that site visit.
We were.
Yes, we were.
Whatever you
In
say.
1995, you and I were on that site visit.
Yeah.
So they've been planting and cutting down what they've planted since
1995,
Here we are.
and here we are.
So I guess what I know is the DEP issued superseding order of conditions, I think in early 2000-ish.
But apparently they also issued one in 1995.
Yeah, prior to that, which I didn't know about. So 2000, they issued a certificate of compliance, I think in 2003, roughly. So anything before 2000, this is all news to me and us.
So the 2000 would supersede this? Is that what you're saying? Matt?
Well, no, I don't know. I mean, well, generally the more current ones I thought were more relevant. I'm not saying previous ones aren't relevant. It's just, I didn't even know about it.
Yep.
Now, I don't want to discount this letter from this attorney, but,
Well, there's a response from DEP.
oh, well, there you go. I was like, one person's-
There's a response in 1995 from DEP to a Stephen DeLesio, who is, I don't know who he is, but he lived in South Egremont. It says a representative of this office conducted an on-site meeting on February 15th, 1995 at the location referenced above in response to an appeal of the Stockbridge Conservation Commission's order of conditions. Discussion with you, your consultants and appellants and the commission focused on the technical issues relative to the proposed restoration plan and proposed grading in the buffer in view of protecting wildlife habitat and water quality. The stated objective of the project was to restore the altered wetland and buffer zone. The species proposal for plantings are Fraxinus pennsylvanica, green ash, acer, rubrum, red maple, A. saccharum, sugar maple, trees in equal numbers, evenly spaced, Cornus ammonum, silky dogwood, euonymus elatus, burning bush, whoops.
A couple of those aren't quite kosher anymore.
The commission stipulated in the order of conditions that the plan be modified by the substitution of Pinus, strobus, white pine, and Tsugas canadensis. Eastern hemlock for 30% of the proposed deciduous trees plantings, and the department feels that the inclusion of pine and hemlock is an improvement over the original proposal. Would like you to keep this change.
So that must have been that list that one of you showed us. Those were the trees on that list.
well, we have a planting plan from 2000. I'm under the impression that was.
This letter was 1995.
Yeah, it's 5 years prior, so. I can't speak to anything before 2000. This is all news.
Based on the information on file in this office and discussion on the on-site meeting, the department finds that some minor modifications are desirable in order to best protect the interests of the act. Given that the restoration is intended to restore and protect wildlife habitat, it seems reasonable to include indigenous native species and exclude non-indigenous. The euonymus should be stricken from the list of species, and it goes on to talk about the species. Trees to be planted should be arranged in a more natural pattern than evenly spaced alternation of species proposed in the notice of intent. In addition, the natural ecological zonation of vegetation should be taken into account. For example, upland species such as hickory should be planted at higher elevations and near the wetland line. In addition to the proposed trees, some Quercus rubra, I don't know all these. Anyway, a bunch of trees they list should be planted. A few more trees should be added to the area of gradient of the abandoned pump house, and which is down, the only place I saw the pump house was down.
Yeah, that's the neighbor.
Down below.
Budding property.
Abandoned pump house, and also to the area down gradient of the lawn as shown on the plan. A revision of the plan and a few other items of additional information are needed in order to allow the department to issue a final decision. Following information should be submitted to this office. revised site plan accurately depicting all the proposed work within the areas subject to protection under the act and within the 100-foot buffer zone. The applicant has proposed to put a restriction on the use of herbicides in commercial lawn treatments. The department agrees that this is a good compromise and will allow the lawn to be established in the buffer zone as proposed on the plan, provided that the applicant takes effective action to ensure that this provision is attached to the chain of title for the property in verifiable and forcible manner. The agreed upon limit of grading and lawn and establishment must be marked on the property. I've been saying this for months. Must be marked on the property in a permanent manner. Please submit proposal for placement of permanent markers to establish the boundary of the undisturbed vegetative buffer, which will include the 100-foot buffer except for the requested lawn area next to the house as shown on the plan. So there were supposed to have been, and I remembered vividly that there were supposed to have been markers on this property marking the no-cut zone.
You know, who
Before
sent
we
that
go on-
reply?
This was DEP.
Any name or anything with it?
It was. Robert McCollum.
Can we see who the unidentified person? No, on the screen.
Zoom behind you, Dick. Oh, sorry.
Ask who that 207. 201.
You get better eyes than I do.
We've got 8 people.
And there's names on
Okay,
everyone.
1-201-770-4407. Who are you?
What's the phone? 774-100?
Yeah,
4407.
whatever. Anyway, so this was from Robert McCollum, which if I remember correctly, he was the head of DEP here for a while.
And so what they're referring to is the area that's been clear cut down to the water. Right, that was supposed to be planted with all this.
Supposed to be planted and permanently marked.
And that's where Dave was counting the stumps of what was cut.
I think generally, again, this is the first I've heard of this.
So I understand.
But we counted stumps, Dave. I don't know if Dave is on.
He's
tonight.
not, he wasn't able to be
We-
here
We
tonight.
counted after the commission left. I don't want to speak for him, but we came up with 11 to 12 stumps visible. I guess part of the question was, some stumps were almost completely rotten down to nothing,
Might have been those.
where some were newer, right?
Here's,
And we use the general rule of thumb of 6 inches and larger. So those are the visible stumps that we.
It looks like 2005 for the last time there were some substantial trees down below.
Okay.
Those, and that was just a few.
I guess with this new information, I have to wrap my head around the best way to proceed.
Sure.
Sounds like DEP involvement in the late 90s. I was aware of DEP involvement in the early 2000s.
Right.
So I'm kind of wondering how those two work together. I don't think it's one and the same. I think it's two separate superseding orders, but I guess I could be wrong. I don't even know.
I take that back. There's also some substantial trees in 21 down to the right in front of the pool that were taken.
On the slope.
Yeah, all the way down there. You could, it's winter, so.
Yeah.
These are trees that were taken down.
Yeah, and then this whole front yard,
I think this,
one.
I assume this plan is referenced similar to the letter.
To the 1995.
It seemed like the same timeframe, right?
Right,
Then
exactly.
we have more, I'll call modern plans.
Oh, now it is.
2000s, black and white.
Yes.
DEP.
They're all gone? I mean, this may have been, and this part I don't remember. This may have been in response to a clear cut. When they,
Okay.
I'm just gonna throw out a scenario here, which may or may not be accurate. That in 1995, they wanted to build the house.
Okay,
And they were told that they could, this was the plan that they submitted when they built the house, and that's the as-built. And there were trees, lots of trees. And then in 2000, they got caught with their pants down and they were clear cutting. So we went out and looked at the site. Joe, do you remember? We went out and looked at the site and issued an enforcement order saying that they had to replant the trees. And they didn't want to, so they went to DEP and appealed.
to get to DEP, do you first need to submit a notice of intent and get denied?
Yes,
So
Yeah.
somewhere in there, but
So-
same concept, they get to DEP.
yeah, so that's what I'm guessing happened.
Sounds like it's plausible.
So I don't know,
I have a question.
tell you.
So, but just real quick, this is Dan Small, this is Mrs.
Yes,
Go ahead, sorry.
So the plan that you got from the DEP, that based all this information.
Yeah.
right.
Right.
That was the 2000 plan.
If that had been, let's say they came here first, we denied them, and then they went to DEP, and that's what they came up with.
Right,
Because that's the only information that we have. The letter that you have and then this information, we've never found the deed, we've never seen any of it. I went back and looked.
yeah.
So, I feel like if we have to keep going, it's like,
So it's been, it seems as though it's been since 1995, which is 30 years of cutting where there was not supposed to be cutting.
Cutting and mowing and.
Cutting, brush
mowing,
hogging.
Brush hogging, yeah.
So in light of this new information, I'm not sure how to proceed tonight.
Yeah, I'm
Can't
not
show you
either.
what we've come up with since I'm not hearing 2 weeks ago.
And do you have a hard copy of, is there a
So
hard,
I've submitted numerous plans. I have new plans tonight
right?
that are based on updated information that I was going to present, but it's not going to reflect anything that was just
Oh.
discussed.
No, I understand, but do you have a hard copy of what?
So should I start with perhaps? If I have to pick somewhere to start. So Justin, he updated the planting plan. I have some copies also. I don't know which ones are better.
better.
This one's
newer.
So I'm gonna let him hand those out if okay, and maybe he can give you a better explanation than I can. So this is, Justin, help me out. Is this essentially a combination of the planting plan, 2000? And combined with an updated your suggested plantings?
Correct, that's exactly right. It's the first page. Someone have enough, I'm sorry. So this is the most recent. The first page, I've highlighted the planting plan that was required by DEP in 2000, and I've added additional legend or key down in the lower right-hand corner. And so each of the trees that I've identified, or each of the or shrubs that were called for, I've identified with some action. If they're marked in red, I've identified those as being inappropriate for the location. Sugar maple for up in soil, fraxinus, suffering from blight. The crack willow is deemed invasive species. So those three would not be appropriate for this location. Three of these are actually two species, the red maple and the black cherry. We're using on the site, but in a different location. And that's on page number 3. That is on the west end of the site. You see highlighted in yellow, 22 red maple and 3 of the cherries, 3 of the plumas.
And what's the little, where are those going?
That's,
Along the driveway?
yes, along the driveway. So if you look in the lower, along the border here, this is a key plan. That's the entire property right there.
Okay.
We've highlighted the eastern end for the planting plan on the east side, where the wetland buffer is adjacent to the pond. And then if you go to the third page, you can see it's highlighted on the western edge of the property. And that is up by Wheat Drive, where the driveway enters into the property. And so those are the two planting plans that we provided today. Because those are the ones where we're showing the plants being relocated. So 22 again of the Acer rubrum that line the driveway. And here's the furnace just off to the side. And then the other plants that are called out, various actions that we're relocating them in or directly adjacent to the wetland buffer. And they're color coded so that you can see, you can track them on this plan, including the cornice, flowering cherry, the hopcorn bean, what's the other one? The chokeberry. And then finally, the green highlighted trees are new trees that we've introduced to the plan.
So both of those are not
that's-
very tall.
Tall, so what we're calling for there are river birch, which gets to be between 60 and 80 feet tall. Populus tremuloides, the quaking aspen, that'll get to about 80 feet tall. Salix babylonica, you'll get between 80 and 100 feet tall. And then the green giant arborvitae, you're gonna get up very quickly, very tall. We also have Amelanchier, the serviceberry, which would get between,
What did you replace the sugar maple with?
we didn't, what do we replace it with? We could choose any of these, for the.
But there was, in its location, there was gonna be something else.
Yes, yes, and these, the river birch, Amelanchier, or the Salix babylonica, generally in that.
So are you proposing replacement of any of the missing trees from buffer zone?
So what I've done here, if you come to the second page on the package, I've provided a chart highlighted in red. And what we've done here is we've identified first of all, the trees that were proposed in 2000 by the plan, and I've got them all listed out by their quantities, their size, and if we're reusing them, and the reason why we're not reusing them if so. And then I have a one-to-one comparison of the trees
To the meeting, I can make copies.
that were requested or required in the 2000 plan. You can see 7 trees total required in the 2000 plan and 6 shrubs. And in our plan today, we have 28 and 98
So
in that same zone.
those are shrubs, so
Correct.
28 trees, 98 shrubs. So you, and I appreciate all your work.
Thank you.
I know
I try to make,
We're kind of a moving target.
comprehensive as possible.
I understand. We're not-
Oh, it's okay. I want to make it clear.
But I have a question.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
you're replacing, this is based on the 2000 EP required.
100.
So what about the additional cutting?
So Matt said that the 12, 11 to 12. So even if we preclude those from the 7 trees that were required in the 2000 plan, if we add another 12 stumps, trees, let's say, you've got 19 trees, we're proposing
Going over.
28 within the 100-foot buffer zone.
And will you not cut them?
I can promise you. I'm on the front end of things. I don't.
Once you get them in the ground, there's somebody else worrying.
I want.
Yeah.
Be verbatim on them.
Thank you.
Thank you for your.
I need to get a copy of that. Not now, later.
Okay.
So that's a bit of an update on the trees, except for the other information we've learned. So I guess I don't know if the commission's desire how to proceed with this.
Evergreen.
They don't, well, they took out the, yeah.
No pines.
There is an overall planting plan for the entire site, as I think. No, just so you're aware. Like there's a planting plan from the road all the way down that we first presented.
What's the total amount of trees then with the front yard too?
So
That's out of our
I
purview.
think, well, it is and it isn't because it falls under the stormwater permit.
Yep.
So in a way it is. I think from a minimum, there was over 400 arborvitae's planted along the edges.
That's correct.
450.
How many Justin, do you know the actual number of proposed trees?
130.
130 proposed trees across the entire property.
Do you have a list of the varieties of those?
Yeah, yes. We submitted all, so, I mean, I apologize, I didn't, what I submitted previously.
I have it here, I think.
Okay, you should have. Yes. Okay, perfect. But this is an older version. But I can amend this for you.
I don't need numbers. I was just looking for varieties. more or
Yes.
less.
Maybe
So this is again on the western edge
Mhm.
going in. all of the plant list is right there. And I believe this corresponds, apologies, corresponds with this exact same plan right here.
All right, so that's the exact thing.
Can you list just a few of the tree varieties, for example?
Sure. We've obviously, we spoke about the Acer rubrum. We spoke about the prunus. We also have several different types of Acer Japanese maples that within the existing woodland. On the next page, we have,
Oh, Nate.
no, it's not a native. But
That little red.
it's an adapted native.
It reseeds itself.
On this forecourt, the central part of the plan, we have,
Then we're gonna get the basic.
like I said, Tepanophilus tremuloides. We have
Any evergreens?
juniper virginiana.
That's low,
No, it's a tall tree.
is it?
Yes. We picked it specifically for its stature.
Hmm.
The betula, we have salix. We're happy to discuss.
I'm just trying to blend with what's there or was there.
Right,
And I can't even tell you what was there anymore.
right. We tried to, as much of the trees that would be appropriate for the site, we're replacing, precluding those three that seemed inappropriate for that location.
Did we have a guess on what some of those stumps were?
I would not be nearly educated to guess. You mean species?
There was two, yeah.
Species, no,
Wrong.
and I don't know if Dave could either. Some of them were this big, and then there are others were decent size. The dozen-ish that we counted,
Yeah,
yeah, I would not be able to guess. I don't even know if we reference the plan from 2000 that shows a variety of trees, if that even gets you close. It actually only identifies what's proposed. I don't think it identifies what was existing. So I don't know how to put a species on.
On the 2000 plan, are these the existing large trees here that are down closer to the pond?
For the 2000 plan, we didn't prepare, so it's hard for me to say what it represents.
But is
In general,
the stumps that we're finding?
I think they're close. I think they're close. We found one or two that maybe were right on the wetland line. The others were in the buffer
that
zone.
was.
They're in that general area though.
Green and
Yes.
red by the looks of it.
You could probably distinguish between conifers and deciduous, even after how many years?
It's hard to tell.
Stumps.
I couldn't. If someone else can, by all means, sure.
Hundreds. Okay, thanks. All right. Where are we?
So there's updated proposed plan here tonight.
You wanna-
We have other information that was just.
You want to take that other information and look at it?
I guess if you're saying we want approval as quickly as possible. Sure.
I had a question at the site visit
Hmm?
about the loss of impervious,
In the buffer zone.
the buffer zone.
I estimated about 2,500 square feet of new impervious area was created in the buffer zone. So I actually modified the stormwater management design. So we had dry wells collecting rooftop runoff. I've doubled the capacity of that. That gives you double the volume that can recharge into the ground. That was my mitigation for the increase of impervious area.
All right, do you have height? As I said, I haven't, I think you sent it,
So this just got finished today, so I don't,
so I haven't looked
I
at it.
totally understand.
So,
Yep, that's an agreement. And then Justin's newest plan, he just handed to you tonight.
but.
So here's my plan.
Is there a dialogue or just a plan?
There's just a plan. I don't have a narrative written. I can write 2,500 square feet of new impervious area. But I guess I'm also not so sure there's not gonna be another plan change, but I can put that in writing.
Okay, does Sally have a copy of this?
I did email one today. Don't know if you got it. Here's the first official hard copy.
I did.
And I highlight the revision date, because we're already up to 2 revisions.
Can we get more hard? I need to see it.
Okay. Okay,
That should go to Sally.
I could have more hard copies delivered tomorrow.
That'd be great.
Along with that,
So,
do you have extra copies of all of the handouts you've given that you could put together one version, one set for me for the site visit that I'll pick up?
yes, we can do that. So this, I guess, raises the question while I'm here. How many more sets of those full-size plans are appropriate? I mean, I know you have upwards of 7 or 8 members, so I guess,
Usually like 4.
okay. 4.
That counts as one.
I'll do 4 more, unless you tell me no.
4 is
Because
fine.
otherwise we just end up throwing them away.
That's where I kind of wonder, like, if I submit 8 copies of everything,
Yeah. no.
but we can do more. That's easy.
All right, we need another site visit.
Follow up Friday after the first one?
If I could ask, I mean, we did a site visit about a week ago, 10 days ago, whatever it was. What's the intent of this next site visit?
That's where I'm going with it.
Okay, thanks.
I think I'd like to read through this. I don't feel like I need to see it again. If other people want to see it.
Anybody have any questions? We'll wait until we see the drawings and the.
That's appropriate.
All right, no site visit.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, we can schedule it. I just wanted to just try to figure out what it's for.
Well, it's just so that they can understand the revisions to the plan.
Okay,
Okay,
sure.
that's basically it.
I think the biggest revision is more trees, from a landscape perspective.
Yeah.
From the engineering perspective, it's, the underground chambers with the change.
Just to see it out there.
Okay,
And are we waiting for comments from Dave?
David was not able to be here tonight. He commented about the number of trees and wanting as many trees as we could possibly get. And there was also discussion about doing a SWIP,
sure. SWIFT, it's another.
stormwater.
I can give you some details on it.
It's a
Federal.
federal stormwater submission. Because that was based on the fact that there was erosion on both sides of the property and particularly from those pipes.
I can attest that the site contractor has created a 4-bay on the north side to collect some runoff, which is what Dave was hoping for. I wasn't able to verify the south side. I'm gonna hopefully trust that it was done, but I can verify.
So, and it's a serious question
Mhm.
because, it seems like there's a 30-year history of things being planted and cut. So what can we do really to keep things from being that?
I mean, you could surround the thing with a 10-foot wall, but if someone wants to get in there and cut a tree down, they're gonna.
But
Right.
it's owners, it's not vandalism.
Sure, that I agree with. And of course, properties get sold over time and stuff. The theory gets recorded in the registry.
From those 2000 plans,
Yep,
how many times has the property been sold?
since 2000.
Twice?
Like twice. And
So-
so I can tell you that all this information from the 2000 prior to that was not in any of.
Yeah, I can see
Wasn't
that.
in the deed, really.
It was not, right? It's just
None of this knowledge was passed along to the,
0, and we didn't learn about the 2000 until a few weeks ago, and then Justin's plan reflects that.
Yeah.
She wants to do the right thing. She wants to do what you want her to do. I just feel like every time we come, we find information that goes back even further, and I'm sure it's stressful to you guys also to have to keep finding.
all right,
We just want to do it right.
we'll continue this.
Okay, so next meeting is in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Um,
drawings for,
If we're not able to have all that information in 2 weeks, can I just contact you and ask you to continue it?
And I would ask if you have new information, don't send it on Tuesday. Give us time to.
I
look at
understand.
it.
That is 100% fair.
Yeah.
Entirely. I've had a busy schedule, so.
Yeah, no, I
that's on my-
understand.
So if I can't get it to you before adequate time next meeting, then I'll ask for continuance.
Great, thank you.
That's actually very reasonable. And I would love, I don't need the copies tonight unless you'd rather do them tonight.
It doesn't matter to me.
I just don't
mean,
wanna hold you up from
I
any
think
other
it would
stuff.
be smart if you and I got together and,
Okay,
and you figure out what's useful to you and what isn't.
okay, yeah.
And you wanted copies of the letters?
You know, I'm happy to wait, like Matt, or maybe I can meet the two of you, just so we. can
Okay.
do it all in one shot.
All right,
Yeah,
let me know.
Whenever you're.
Okay,
I'm usually in the office on Thursdays in the morning.
Thursday morning?
And that's here.
It's downstairs.
Office is downstairs, but.
Know what I'm saying, like in this.
Thursday morning.
Yes.
I'll get a hold of you then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Maybe perhaps that I can drop off the other hard copies on Thursday morning?
Sure.
You leave that out so we could look at that.
Thanks.
My little pile.
Enjoy your puppy.
Thank God, she went home yesterday, but enjoy yours.
Up next is Town of Stockbridge weed harvesting.
Don't think there's anybody here for that. Which is surprising.
Probably down the other end of the building.
I'm here, Sally, Robin.
Oh,
from
okay,
TCA.
Robin, I'm sorry. Yes, you are.
No problem.
So the basic thing is that they're expanding the weed harvesting to just under the 10 acres that is a threshold. The Natural Heritage has approved the plan. I double checked with Mark Stinson, I double checked with David, and Robin provided the information. So really all we're doing is redoing what we've been doing, only a little bit more.
Do we have goals with this harvesting? Are we targeting species or is this just mowing the weeds type thing?
Yeah, I think it's a little of both, but the targeted species are two invasive submerged aquatic vegetation species. The Eurasian water milfoil and the curly leaf pondweed. So those two invasive species were found by Foresight Land Services when they did a full survey of the pond before the 2021 permit, and identified the colonies of those species, in particular, to see where they were densest, to figure out the best areas for harvesting.
So their study is 4 years old?
It is, yes.
We know that that's a problem on the lake.
Yeah. Well,
And the real issue at this point is that if this doesn't get done pretty soon, there won't be harvesting this summer. That needs to start soon.
They're beginning to pop.
Yeah, no, I would certainly urge.
all right.
And it's been approved by Heritage and it's really not a huge difference from what we already approved.
And I think it got pulled back at the point when they were still talking about putting the chemicals in the lake and they had test patches. So they reduced the size
Right.
of what they were harvesting. Now that they're not doing the test patches at all, they can go back to what they were doing originally.
In that same vein, though, at one time when they were gonna do they had permission to use the chemicals, they couldn't find the milfoil. So I'm thinking that we need another study of what's there. Don't need it this year, but before we approve weed harvesting again, I'd like to verify that the areas that they're gonna do are troubled areas.
I think I can safely say that the Stockbridge Bull Association just had a survey done by Solitude Lake Management, which basically shows that, some things are up, some things are down, but that overall, since the first one in 2019 that they did, 2018 or 2019, and then the one they did last summer, 2024. You know, the lake is in pretty much a steady state. There's less milfoil in many places, but there's still plenty of milfoil. There's still, you know, the predominant the weeds are some of the native, you know, ones, but it's,
I have no problems with the harvesting if there's actually something to harvest. And I'm sure that whoever's paying for it is not looking for thing riding around out there and us paying somebody to do it for no good reason. I just would like to see verification that, and also as well as verification to make sure that they've got, what was it, the chestnut? There was a water chestnut there.
They're still doing that every year. They come in and they have to,
they do
for
that.
10 years, they have to do that because that's how long the seeds can last. Last year, the harvest was much lower than the year before, but they're still out there.
Yeah, that's the goal.
But it's working.
Yeah, yes.
But the harvester isn't doing the
Yeah,
chestnuts.
that's the last thing you want is the harvester grabbing them.
That would just.
Nor
spread
is it.
around, yeah.
So my main reason for asking these questions is I would like to see a study done on the areas that need attention, just to verify that some progress is being made.
They are targeting to a great degree that where there is human activity, not just generally around the lake. They've got the camp and the boat club and the boat ramp and Beechwood and, you know, so that the harvesting activity is more intense in those areas than it is in general. And then they have still the one swipe down the outlet.
Outlet too, for sure.
But you know, having seen last year, it's better than it's been, but there's still a lot.
By
So-
the end of the season, I could tell you, you know, it's a amount of weeds wrapped around my propeller on our boat just from backing out from our dock is amazing.
All right, so maybe just some verification for next year that,
Robin, does
progress.
GGA do an assessment of what's out there?
I can check, we don't have staff in the Springfield office that does
Okay.
anything like that for aquatic plants. That's typically something we would sub out, but I could check with some other offices and get back to you.
I just wondered if they had done it, so.
I think I received a certified letter 2 weeks ago that they're doing it this summer. Because I'm there.
BZA or,
GZA.
all right,
GZA sent me a certified letter.
okay.
That was about the harvesting. So we all got that as butters.
It was about the weeds though too, right? That they were
It was the
doing it.
harvest. It was about this item on the agenda.
Okay, I apologize. I thought it was about that they were surveying the weeds.
But I'm sure that the SBA will share those results.
Yeah. Yeah, if they could, just,
I will double check that, but
yeah,
I don't, there's no reason.
I don't want it to get
Work
worse.
together.
I don't want it to get worse, but you know,
But
if
you
at
know
some
it's
point in
there.
time,
And there's some
They-
more, I know there's some more analysis that we wanted to have done on the data that they've collected, but, you know, because it's, you know, it's point by point by point. And the one thing that's good about it is they've used the same data points, 200 odd data points around the lake and down the outlet. Now, the 3 times they've done this survey, so there's at least some good.
they shared any of that with us.
I'm not sure.
Could you ask someone to share
I will absolutely.
whatever information you get from?
Yeah, we should probably, Bill, we should probably have that information for the SBSC too.
Yes, actually it would make sense. There's plenty of overlap between all 3 of those groups. so.
Yes.
All right, so,
Yeah, and sorry, just to say one quick thing. I know that they're required to send progress reports and some results to Natural Heritage as well. So maybe those are reports that can also be shared with the commission.
That would be good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Need to vote on anything?
Yeah, we need to vote to approve.
All right, we need a motion to approve.
So move.
Second it? All in favor? Aye, Ron?
Hi, Lisa.
Sally.
Chuck.
I
I
don't
can.
know.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not sure if you and Chuck can vote.
That's.
Well, we still,
Oh, because we're on the lake?
Because we're,
Yeah.
ah,
Okay.
well, we still have enough. 1, 2,
yeah, we
3,
got enough.
4, 5.
Hi, Bill.
Go.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on the safe side and
Yeah.
say that you can't.
It's fine.
All
So
right.
let's start
approved.
again with who's gonna make the motion.
So I make a motion to approve the harvesting on the bowl.
I'll second it.
Joe's gonna come back in a minute, I think.
Okay, I, Sally.
Aye, Ron,
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Bill.
we got
Okay.
enough.
We're gonna assume Joe.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
all right, approved. 3 Lakeview Drive, demolition, reconstruction, single-family home site work.
Good evening. Brian Slater with Foresight Land Services. I am representing Betsy Aubrey and Steve Lichtenberg. They are the owners of 3 Lakeview Drive. We discussed this at the last meeting. The last 2 meetings. The first meeting, we had come and requested a minor revision. Well, let me back up. There was a house proposal and order of conditions approved to demolish the existing house, build a new one at 3 Lakeview Drive on Stockbridge Bowl. The first meeting, we decided we would make some revision to the planting plan to again, the house footprint is slightly different, and along with that, we had redesigned the driveway turnaround, so 2 pine trees were coming out. We had proposed to plant 5 river birch trees instead. We also took we had proposed 1,000 square feet of plantings along the lakefront, which is currently a lawn. And we bumped that up to 1,200 square feet, so it's 20% more native plantings. And I think we had more or less tentative approval of that plan at the last meeting, but it was determined that it should be an amended final order rather than a minor revision request. That way this plan gets recorded and would be on file. So we are just requesting a vote to approve a final amended order with this approved plan that we presented. And certainly if you have any questions, discuss it.
Now that's what we asked for.
So I make a motion to approve the amended plan for 3 Lakeview.
I'll second.
All right,
I, Sally.
aye, Ron,
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Bill.
Chuck.
Gonna abstain.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Bill R.
Did you abstain?
Yeah, I wouldn't hear anything.
he just came back.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. And just to be clear, this is dated 4/17/25. That's the revised plan. And I'll leave you another copy, just, I believe I sent hard
Hey.
copies.
These people do know that all those spaces are where the geese gonna come up under the.
I'm sure they're having a
Not
field
gonna-
day on it right now, I'm
Not
sure.
gonna be fences put in there.
No fences proposed. Owners are aware that that's been a point of contention in the past.
Well, they
Certainly not.
fence, but it has to have a 6 or 8 inch clearance.
Right. Geese need somewhere to land too, so. Thank you.
For Paula's lawn.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, where are we now?
We are
Who's
Scenic
it?
Mountain, Nez Stewart.
One who's
on
Tonic
The Tonic.
Road. Construct single family house. Are you,
Yes, I'm Michelle. I work for Top to Bottom Tree and Clark South Excavating.
This is a very complicated, I'm sorry, and tell me your name again.
Michelle Hard, and Inez Stewart is also.
Yeah. And is it with one L or two?
Two L's.
Okay. And how do you spell your last name?
NARDIN.
Thank you. And ma'am, would you give me your name?
Patty King.
Oh, I knew that. I'm sorry, Patty. You're usually up there.
Oh, yes, I'm usually Zoom.
Yeah, because it's 0.65 acres in an R4 zone. So it has been determined by town council some time ago that it is in fact allowable as a building lot, but that does not absolve it of having to meet both the scenic mountain tenets and the Wetlands Protection Act. And as Shep Evans used to say, just because it's a building lot doesn't mean it's buildable. So that's something we're going to have to determine whether in fact that the two regulations that it falls under,
Which has priorities.
they have priorities. I talked to town council and I talked to Mark Stinson just to be sure that that was the case. So.
And do we have hard copies of plan or what your
Copy of all the plans were sent, with the intent.
Where is this? Did you?
And it was also clear cut.
was clear cut and it's scenic mountain?
Yes. The person who did the cutting informed Ron and me that there weren't really any trees. It was just brush, but of course we couldn't tell.
Supposedly it was all
They're all big trees.
buckthorn and bittersweet. Which up in that area, I don't doubt there was plenty of bittersweet buckthorn.
I don't think there was really much in the way of clearing it.
We have a hard copy.
Excuse me, what is the address of the property? I,
Number
I
one,
think it's.
One Housatonic.
one who's the time?
One who's time out.
all the way up the top of the hill as far as you can go and right. Don't drive in there unless you got a little car.
Or a bicycle.
Or bicycle.
Kind of steep for a bicycle. It's not, the plan is rudimentary.
Oh, so there's not a narrative for, so,
No.
and is this a notice of?
I think
intent?
this was, yes.
So we would need a narrative. Filled out a notice of intent form.
I thought there was an email that had from the show.
Yeah, the notice of intent.
Oh, excuse me.
But more than
Long day, can barely move.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's just more
you
formal.
have more than one NOI.
There's proposed home summary, something like that. Actually, you know what? This, I don't really need to take a bit.
I can't.
Questions on this already?
This is good.
This is the area that's been cleared and this is the property lines. That property line there. and
What do you got, any read glasses I could borrow?
I think it's print smaller.
Yeah, I can't see that. I'm sorry.
So the house is, the proposed house is a. The proposed house is a modular.
Yeah.
Who's the dollar turkey?
I live in a $50 turnkey, yes. But the question is what, how it fits into the wetlands and how it fits into the mountains.
On the NOI, is it, I can't tell where the wetlands are.
No.
Well, that was Mark Stinson's comment, was that there was not enough information provided. Like, where are the wetlands? Are there any resource areas? He doesn't do, scenic mountains, so that's another.
Is it just for one house?
Yes.
Yes, it's only one house. It's for our family. We've had houses in the Berkshire. This will be my third property in the Berkshires, and I've been listening in. So I have to say that we are very environmentally friendly, and we would never take a tree down for any purposes of land clearing. I had a house up in Beckett. I had a house in Great Barrington. And then this is a piece of land that we bought, I think it was about 18 months ago, with the intention of making it our family home there for my daughter and her children. So we are going to put a modular house because that was the most, for what we thought would be the easiest way to construct something in that property that we bought. And when we bought it, we were informed that it was buildable, and all of the main items were put in there, the well and the electricity. And we were informed by the realtor that it was a buildable lot. If not, I would not have bought it, because this is not a speculatory purchase. I mean, we are going to be living there. It's not for us to flip the house and like other people will come in and kind of walk through and just say, okay, let's kind of put a module and flip it over. This is for ours to have for generational property.
We just need more information about the site, you know, where the wetlands are, we can't tell from the drawing what it is.
Boundary lines, we have no reference.
So like a site.
I thought we had.
NOI, on the NOI, does it say what, like, we need like a map of.
We provided to you the plot land. We've provided the, what we understood from the documentation was that we needed to make sure that we honored 100 feet from the area, and we never looked to build anything beyond that parameter. We were not ever informed that there was wetlands there that would prohibit us from putting a house there. So we were very thoughtful with the builder, which is Chad Segal. And we also looked at with, when we were just clearing bush, because when I bought it, I never even knew what we had bought. So we just said there was a lot of overgrown bush there, which is what we cleared out. And I informed the person who was taking down the bush not to cut the trees, because I did want to have privacy with our neighbors and respect the natural terrain there as well. So I know there wasn't any trees that we cut down, because that was not the intent. It was just to clear the bush so we can understand what was the buildable area for we can put a house there.
There's also a sewer stuff already there as well.
Yes.
So one time it was.
Yeah,
And we built.
that gives you a lot of flexibility that you wouldn't have.
Right.
You have a lot of flexibility that you would not have on this size lot.
See what they got.
Matter of fact,
Just the basement.
you might have problems with a septic field on that size lot, so we're fortunate that sewer stuff is there.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I had asked before we bought the lot that was there, because there was a previous owner that had already looked at the piece of property and they were going to build, but they decided not to build and move somewhere else within the Berkshires. And that's why we bought the land, because it had been already worked through with an architect and making sure that there was a well there and all the other important pieces of the land that we can build.
So Mark Stinson, who is the DEP circuit rider for our area, said the applicant has to overlay the building footprint, the driveway, well, and septic onto the property line survey map. Please also show the limit of work. Actual resource areas should be shown as well as the 100-foot buffer line. Commission should look at the LIDR overlay available on Mass Mapper that clearly shows the intermittent stream to the north, south of where the mass mapper shows the stream, which pushes the 100-foot buffer over halfway into the lot. Plans are inadequate for permitting. The total filing fee should be the category 2 fee if any portion of the house is within the buffer zone.
So we, with our architect, we told them that they needed to preserve that buffer zone. And the house was, I mean, we actually designed it so that way there was more of a rectangular home. So that way there is no obstruction, or that we were not be compromising the buffer zone.
All right, we're gonna need some measurements and markings on where the buffer zone is in relation to the.
Yeah, we
proximity.
can get to, we can get you all the plans, and I thought those were submitted, but we can actually get you the architectural design that actually got approved. I don't know the process, but I know that the architectural designs had been approved by the town. And we've been holding on this project for about a year because we wanted to get it right. So, you know, anything that we can provide you, that you're comfortable with, well,
Yeah, you're gonna need a little more work here.
The architectural plans are not our concern particularly. Once, I mean, the footprint of the house, yes. But what we need to look at is where the buffer zone is and the fact that it's in scenic mountains. So there are regulations that speak to how much cutting can go on in scenic mountains, for instance, and the height of the house in terms of whether it can be seen, whether the ridge line is certainly not going to be bridged, but the fact whether you can see it from down below, those are all considerations under scenic mountains.
okay. So what can we do to move this forward, and what's the time frame where you all can review when we submit you what we need to do that and get back on in front of you?
Just that little one.
Yeah, there's
6 acres.
Delineation, or at least some indication of how far away from wetlands it is and where the wetlands are, and
you need someone,
6 acres.
well, on paper anyways, you're gonna need to map out where the wetlands are in relation to your property, how far those wetlands are to your building. Not just the edge of your property, but where the building's gonna sit on the property.
Okay. So we have all that information for you. So how should we submit that to you, and where to, and how do we get in front of you again?
Usually it'd be on a map type thing, drawing of
Okay.
those, where the house is in relation. This is it's a little too sketchy, way too sketchy. So we need to know that there's a stream or wetland or whatever is over on this side, how far it is to the edge of your property and how far it is to the edge of the building. As for the scenic mountain, it's pretty much all clear.
have to be some screening.
Yeah, we might need to do some plantings. Well, we can work on this. We've got a map of the scenic mountain ridge area in relation to where this property lies on that map. We'll have to look at it and see
All
if
in scenic mountain.
the whole property.
Does it need, do we need more of a narrative and a description in the NOI? Than what we have?
Single family house.
That's it?
Yeah, if there's anything like a garage or any of that sort of stuff, we need information on that.
We're not putting a garage in. We're just
We're-
we're gonna park right on the side of the house. We're not putting a garage. It's just gonna
Alright.
be a single family with a back deck. That's it.
All right, that needs to be on your map.
And
Okay.
you've met the limitations of lot coverage?
There's a certain size building in relation to the lot.
Yes,
All right.
And setbacks.
And setbacks and that type
Yep.
of thing. So
yeah, we have all that
your
mapped out.
your drawings would show that. So you see.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and that was part of what we had asked our developer to make sure that we had sufficient space between the street, the sides of the house, the back of the house. We want to make sure that we're not obstructing any views of anyone, and particularly the house behind us. I mean, so we were very thoughtful to make sure that everyone had ample space where we're going to build and where their homes are, because it's a house to the right of us that I guess is 2 lots that they have, and they come in through the other side of the street.
All right, so maybe your developer can provide that for you. You may have to go someone with a little more expertise to get
Okay.
the dimensions and mapping done.
Okay,
And they have to come back with those requirements for us before we can rule on this.
when is your next meeting?
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so we don't have to wait till September?
No.
Oh, great. We're trying to get the kids up there for summer camp. All right. So we'll get this back to you within the next several days. We'll talk to our developer. If Sally, we can work with you so you can give us specifically what you need, because I'm not an expert in this area, but I want to make sure that we don't have to come back and that we do our due diligence and make sure you get all the correct data that you are looking for.
We'll try to get it right the first time.
Did you get the copy of the, you should have gotten the copy of the comments from Mark Stinson.
My daughter, Isabel, did you get that?
It would have, it's on the official letterhead
Yeah,
from.
I'm sure we have. Okay.
Yeah.
We have that.
So, that will tell you some of the things that you need to do
Okay.
and where to find some of the information. But really what we need to know is where the 100-foot buffer zone to the intermittent stream is. We need to know, probably how tall the building is going to be. Is it 1-story or 2?
It's a 2-story.
I'm sorry, it's what?
2-story.
2-story. Okay, and we're gonna have to think about whether, since it's we need to do a site visit.
Yeah. You wouldn't come back with the dimensions and the drawings which you have. We'll take a ride out there and take a look at it. And if we have to adjust anything on the site, we'll tell you where and what it might be.
Okay, that would be fair.
And we usually
And
we
I
do
can,
that.
I'm in Baltimore, so if we can schedule, if I need to be there with you, we'll figure that out, and we'll try to.
Usually our site visits are the Friday after the next Tuesday meeting.
Okay,
So we can work around that though.
okay, thank you. All righty, well, thank you so much.
Anything else? Okay.
I appreciate your consideration.
We appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4 requests to
Thank
sign.
you.
Yes.
Easier.
All right. There's the industrial park.
Oh, yeah. I'd be interested in somebody taking a ride down by the industrial park in this month sometime.
I was just down there. What are you wondering
Drive
about?
by to see what all the project.
Of the fence and the.
Oh, I didn't see any of that. I just saw the flattened land. The boat was stored down there.
The fence and also the holding bins for the compost and that type of thing. And
I take a look. My nephew has his painting business down there.
We can go anytime. We haven't opened.
well, more people at different times would be better.
Okay, this is the drainage for Dr. Robertson Beechwood. This is the resource delineation for Bullard Woods. And this is the town beach improvement.
Resource delineation.
For Bullard Woods. Thank you.
Oh, jeez. Guys, all right.
It has to do with the fill.
David and GZA went over that.
Yeah.
So, this is town beach.
Got enough people.
They got the whole thing on the house. The
This is,
paperwork for the prefab house.
how I think of it to us.
She thinks she's gonna get it this summer, which is the only way you can do that is with a modular. Come in 2 days, you have a house.
Boy, I like to see him get a crane or something up in that area.
Oh, yeah, that's.
Let's get it up the hill, the crane. And then how do you get the house? Portions up?
Well, Chad's seen it. He seems to think that he can do it, so.
It's in the 90s.
I'd like to view it.
Well, our friend lives right across the street, so we could sit on his porch and.
Watch the show. Okay, do we have anything from Houstonic Railroad?
The yearly opera meeting. And yearly operating plan for Housatonic Railroad.
Is this the same Housatonic Railroad?
This is the same Housatonic Railroad.
It's railroad ties.
It's
Yeah,
ignoring us for.
that kind of faded, didn't it?
Yeah, they're planning to use the herbicide along the roadway from June 2nd to July 20th, July 21st. Rush application, August to September.
Charge us to get it again. Deal with it.
Twice?
No spray zones will be verified prior to application. Please call Tech Associates with any questions about this plan.
Did we ever approve last year?
We can't,
We
we
can't.
have no approval.
Yeah.
This is a right of way by a,
Quasi government,
yeah.
I don't know what you
I
call
mean,
it.
we can jump up and down and scream and yell all we want to, and they'll do whatever they want. We had hoped that we would be able to coerce them into getting rid of the railroad ties, but they're very interested in doing that.
Okay, botanical garden conservation restriction, have we got any more?
Nobody here, I don't know. Well, we went and did the site visit, the botanical garden. And did anybody have any concerns?
No, I was okay with it.
I see no reason why we shouldn't sign off on it.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
So I should get in touch with Rich and tell him we're okay. What kind of, do we want some sort of,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with what they're doing.
yeah,
Technically, it's supposed to require, and it doesn't. So Why, we just really need to make sure it's written up, but has it been approved by anybody's lawyer? Or is it just what Rich wrote?
I think just what he wrote.
Yeah, I personally would like to have paperwork.
Yes.
I mean,
He wrote
He wrote,
a whole agreement
Yeah.
that was prepared to be signed, I thought.
Yeah.
You know, it was a
But is
pretty
it a-
complete document.
it is,
I mean, I take your point that is it enough to,
yeah, if you look at the MAC manual on stewardship of conservation commission, of conservation restrictions, really clear that you need an amendment. And what he wrote
Talk a
is,
little louder.
yeah, the MAC has a,
I'm hearing that part.
Yeah. you have a section on, a couple of paragraphs on writing an actual amendment.
To a
when you make-
CR.
To a CR. So he said in his proposal, he said the amendment takes much longer time and I don't know, file a fee. I understand that. And it's not that big a deal what we're asking. It's 15 more days and a little less cars. So it's not a big deal, but I just want to make sure we're doing it correctly. Because we're not doing it as an amendment. We're doing something Rich wrote, so it'd be nice if somebody with some expertise on this.
I think that
It's
the
okay.
problem is that it's not permanent
Right?
in
But-
terms of, getting an amendment.
But it's a change,
Yeah, it's a change.
whatever you want to call it, it's a change.
Because as I understand it, it goes throughout the entire life of the proposal, that it's only 10 years. But that they would do it for 2 years and reevaluate. And then we would decide whether it was something that we wanted to extend. So I guess I have a question as to whether, because they're going to acquire this other property, which they're going to use for parking, and it would potentially revert to what it was.
This needs to be written in a way that is makes sense and is legal.
It's gonna be complicated.
Yeah, it,
But does it need to be an amendment, or can it be
An adjustment.
a,
or what you call it.
no, or a letter of understanding.
the memorandum of understanding was the thing that he was going to provide.
And that's all fine. I'm just asking, do we know that that's okay? That's all I'm asking. Was it run by the land trust lawyer? Was it run by, I just don't know. I've never seen a change happen to a CR.
So what are you proposing? Do we want to ask Rich if it's
If
been
it's-
run by a
Yeah, if
lawyer?
it's been run, if
Yeah.
anybody legal has looked over what he wrote. I'm not opposed to what they're doing. Just want to make sure.
I
we're
don't,
doing
I
it.
don't see any
Yeah.
downside for 2 years.
Right. I think what we're doing is okay. I just want to make sure we're holders of this conservation
Right.
restriction. I want us to do it correctly. If you're interested, it's on page 58 of the manual in that. It's about how to do it. It's only a couple paragraphs, but it's much more complicated than what we're saying.
Okay. The Fen Farm conservation restriction, it's coming to a head, according to what I've been told. It's the Swan property down on off of
What does that mean?
Route 7 and Cherry Hill. Well, it's been in flux for a while. I mean, the Muncie tribe has purchased it, but the conservation restriction hasn't been finalized yet. And the same with the Loveless property. That's still an issue. And then there was the big meeting the other night about the Moffett property off of Interlake and Crossroads, which they the select board deferred their decision until their meeting, whatever their meeting is, just before June 10th, which is the deadline. So it has to, again, they have to have an applicant, which they don't have. They haven't got it all pulled together, and then town meeting will vote on whether they are willing to put up the money. But will all the money come from the town? My understanding from the meeting was that the landowners had put together money. Then they would have to apply to CPC for some money if they want it. Yeah.
Yeah.
DeSisto.
My understanding from that is that there's the potential for another CR of 260 acres in conjunction with the development of the property.
Which is a complicated, I don't think we can go in, I don't think we can have a conversation.
Yeah,
about it.
that's what she was
But
talking.
if, that's.
Well, we don't
complicated.
know,
Right.
but that was different. That was a proposal that was different from the first couple of meetings
Right.
with this system, whether this is on.
I
Talking
think
about it right now.
there's been changes and modifications in every discussion, so.
Right, exactly. So it's an ongoing
So
issue.
which raises the question for me. I know we had the list of the conservation restrictions in town. I would find it really helpful if I knew which ones were our responsibility and
Michael has that information.
how we monitor, how we stay on top of
We
them.
don't.
We don't, which is what I thought. But maybe even if we look at one every meeting, just because I have no idea what we're doing with them.
I was joking with Ron earlier about expanding the Friends of Gould Meadows group.
But so maybe we can start to look at them. Because it's not something I know much about, but if it's our responsibility, should.
It is our responsibility, and we've been really pretty derelict in our,
So especially if we're looking at more property, I mean, if the system comes through, that's gonna be some work.
So interestingly, if you look at the Stockbridge GIS maps, there is a layer that's got for conservation restrictions.
Okay.
Doesn't say exactly who's the holder of it, but it's, you know, when you look at it, it's these bright green areas all around.
there was a map that was put out with the Stockbridge updates, which had all kinds of little arrow thingies on it that you could click on and see who owns the property. Unfortunately, it does not tell you who owns the property accurately, because
It's outdated.
I was surprised to find out that my property was owned by Highland Farm. They haven't been paying the taxes. They haven't been paying the taxes, I can tell you that.
Didn't Tom LaBelle make a list of which conservation restrictions were held
He
by?
did.
whom? He did. I
We
mean,
can get that information from Michael Blay, though, he has that.
But I think it'd be good to start to look at it and, you know, every meeting, just talk about one.
Pick the biggest properties and work our way down.
Yeah, and just because if we're supposed to be overseeing it, it'd be good to know what we're doing. Okay,
All right,
Require a budget, would think, too.
it might,
I mean, if we're thinking we should be,
yeah, actively doing something, yeah.
Well, on these properties, they're just, there's nothing on them, right? They're just land.
Yeah,
Maybe, you know, people are hunting them or
but even, I know for
trapping, but that's,
for some conservation restrictions, like sometimes somebody goes out and looks to make sure there's
Keeps an eye on
not,
it.
you know, clearing or whatever, just.
Nobody builds a house on it.
Yeah,
Or
nobody
dumping
feels
cars
that,
or-
right. So even if we just did that.
invasive species.
No.
Well, that'd be a long day.
Money.
Come over to my yard, start there, please.
Mine too.
So do you get serviced by the weed cutter?
Make a motion, please.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, Bill.
Good night.
Night.
Night, Bill.